Good afternoon, and welcome to the children of the parish of All Saints, South Grenville. This is Reverend Barbara here, and I am still waiting to meet most of you. I think we'd all hope that things might be a little bit more normal by now, but they're not. I'd wondered if I might see some of you too a couple of weeks ago when I came out to your houses and we dropped off, Lorraine and I dropped off some packages of activities for you to use during this season of getting ready for Christmas. We call it Advent, and we really hope that those activities have been fun for you. I don't know if you had favorite ones. I look forward to hearing from you, and you can tell me that, what you like to do the most. I was looking today at the one for coloring page for Advent because over the last couple of weeks, the first two candles we worked on, and they were purple. Now mine look a little blue here, more blue than purple, but two of them were purple. And now today is what we call Gaudete Sunday. That means rejoicing Sunday. And because it's a day when we talk about joy and being happy and grateful to God, we light a different color candle. We light the pink one. So why don't I go and do that right now on my Advent candle, which is just behind me over on the table over here. Hang on. I kind of imagine that in your homes, you're getting ready, starting to put up some of the decorations for Christmas. You probably have favorite ones that you like to see every year. On my tree, which we just decorated, some of my favorites used to be the ones that my children had made for us. We have three children, and they would make ornaments for us at school, and we loved those ones. Now that they're grown up, we've given them those ornaments, and they have them on their own tree for their own family. But I still have favorites. I just had one. This one is one of my favorites. It's so colorful, it's beautiful and bright. When we lived way up in the north, one of the women up there made this ornament for me, and it has gone on our tree for years and years and years. Another way we often decorate is we put flowers or sometimes plants. You might have seen this one. Maybe you have one of these in your homes. This is a poinsettia, and it's beautiful. And I thought I'd tell you today a story about that flower and why we use it at Christmas time. Now, it's a little bit tricky to read a book online because you can't always see the pictures very well. So the story is called The Legend of the Poinsettia, and I'm going to tell it to you, and I'll show you some of the pictures as we go along today, okay? The story about a little girl named Lucinda, and she lived in a small village in Mexico. And it's a Christmas story from Mexico. She lived on a farm with her mom and her papa, and she had a sister and brother, and she had a favorite horse who was called Pepito. Every year in her village at Christmas time, there was a procession. And on Christmas Eve, everybody would bring gifts into the church to decorate the manger scene at the front of the church. And it was a wonderful celebration. Everybody looked forward to it. And one day, the priest, in a few weeks before Christmas, when they were getting ready for Christmas, this Advent season, this preparation time, the priest turned up at her door. And he was holding kind of a ratty blanket. You can't see it. We'll see this one's ratty. It's not so bad, but the one the priest brought was full of holes because it had been used in the manger scene for years and years and years as the blanket in which they'd wrap up the baby Jesus for the manger. The priest said to Lucinda's mom, "You are the very best weaver in our village. Would you consider making a new blanket for the baby Jesus for the manger?" And she said, "Of course I would. I would love to do that. I would be honored to do that." Made Lucinda pretty happy too. So they headed off to the market. And they chose the most beautiful colors they could find for this new blanket. Maybe some of the colors that are in the painting over there behind the wreath on my wall. There were blues and greens and pinks and golds, and it was gorgeous. And Lucinda's mom started to work on it every day, day after day, at her loom, weaving this new blanket. They were almost done. But in the week before Christmas, one day, when Lucinda came home from school, she was met by her aunt, and her aunt had a very worried look on her face. She said, Lucinda, your mom needs you to look after your brother and sister because she needs to go into the city to see a doctor. She hasn't been feeling well. Well, this was scary news. And Lucinda went into the house. She noticed the loom. And she knew her mother had planned to use the coming week to finish that blanket, and it was not finished. Ah, she thought, maybe I could do some work on it myself. She got out the loom and she sat down. But when she sat down and tried to weave, the yarn got all tangled. The more she tried to untangle it, the worse it was. It was no use. She was never going to finish it by herself. Christmas Eve came, and that blanket was not finished. And Lucinda had nothing to take to church. She was too embarrassed to go without a present. But she wanted to see the procession. So down she walked near the village church, and she just hung back, kind of hiding around the corner behind a house. And there she was met by an elderly woman from her village. Lucinda, she said, I have news for you. I have good news for you. Your mom is going to be fine. She's going to be home in a few days. And things have gone very well, and I know you'll be pleased. So go and join the others. You will enjoy the service with your friends. Lucinda said, I can't do that. I have nothing to bring. Oh, said the elderly lady, don't worry. Whatever you give, the Lord will love because you are giving it in love. Well, she still wasn't sure about this. She looked around the path and she saw that there were lots of weeds growing outside the church. So, ones like this, she gathered an armload of them and she headed in to the procession. She thought she heard some people whispering, though, saying, what's she taking into there? Doesn't that look like weeds from outside? But nonetheless, she went up to the front of the church and she placed these weeds all around the baby Jesus, the creche in the manger. And she bent her head, closed her eyes to pray. And as she did, she heard a gasp. And when she opened her eyes, the leaves of all those weeds were glowing red. It was the most beautiful manger scene that anyone had ever seen in that village. And the even more amazing thing was that when the service was over and everybody went outside, all the clumps of green weeds in that village were shining with red stars. Lucinda's beautiful gift had become even more beautiful. And every Christmas to this day, says our story, the red stars shine on top of green branches in Mexico. The people call the plants La Flor de Nochebuena, the flower of the holy night, the poinsettia. And here it is. So when you see those flowers in the store, you can remember, or in your home, you can remember the story of a little girl who wanted to please Jesus. She gave him what she had. And that's all that Jesus asks of us. And what he values most is our love and our trust in him. So I hope you'll have a good week. I hope you'll continue to work on those activities. And I hope that we will be able to see some of you on Christmas Eve when we gather for our own worship that night. So have a good night. Bye bye for now.